You're watching a brand new edition of Gadgets and Games, and it is actually a joint union here. It's Curtis Anderson and Sal Ricardo's Gadgets and Games. This week, I'm taking the show back after my 2-week hiatus, and we're going to review a game that we both agreed on. What was the game that we agreed on?
It's rare. We both agree on Royal Rumble for the Super NES. We've done every other combination. We've done you and John, me and John, me and Noah and John. Who knows? Noah and John may be doing their own review back at the store right now. I don't know. But I'm excited, Sal.
Yeah.
One of my favorite games. A game we can both agree on from the past. So thanks for inviting me back on after your 2-week absence.
No problem. All right, now, I was going to say that this is possibly the first wrestling game that I ever played, but thinking about it, this is definitely the first wrestling game that I ever played, going back to 1993 on the Super Nintendo. Now, you probably have more knowledge about this game than I do, so why don't you share some of your knowledge about this game?
Yes, I was probably playing more video games in 1993 than Sal Ricardo was. I don't want to date myself here, but I remember this was one of the first games we actually played for the Super Nintendo, and being wrestling fans back in the day, my friends and I ate this thing up.
Yeah.
The difference between this and the other wrestling games that were on like Nintendo, and I think there may have been one or two before on Super Nintendo, but the finishing maneuvers in this still hold up today. I mean, the actual grappling and gameplay is so beyond repetitive, but it's worth hanging in there and doing the same 3 moves over and over just to execute those finishing maneuvers. At the time, there was nothing else like it, believe me. Nothing else.
Yeah, actually, what I wanted to say about the controls with that, going back, I was actually surprised how in-depth they were, because I play a lot of the modern wrestling games now that you can get on the PlayStation and the Xbox, and they're super in-depth. They use almost every single button on the controllers, which is more than like the 5 buttons that came on the Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was pretty surprised how in-depth the controls were for the game. And I mean, it used this, the first game in the series was Super WrestleMania. That was the first game on the Super Nintendo. This one kind of followed in the same footsteps of that. They used like this tug-of-war system.
Yeah.
And you're not a fan of that?
Yeah, I kind of want to agree with you. I don't think it's in depth at all. You have like literally 5 moves. And when you look at the jump between this and the games that were released on the Nintendo 64, like the WCW ones, whatever that company was that produced the really good ones, it was WCW for a while.
I think it was THQ, yeah.
Yeah, like those are just light years better than this, and that's a pretty small jump, I think.
Yeah, better graphics, 3D, more controllers. Anyways,
about 100 other moves, but yes, it's still a good game. Continue.
All right, so why don't we talk about the wrestlers in the game, because there was actually 2 versions of this. There was one on the Super Nintendo, one on the Sega Genesis, which I never had growing up.
No.
But the wrestlers are actually different. But who do you remember from the game when you played?
Well, obviously a big Shawn Michaels fan and Razor Ramon fan, so I would just use those 2 indefinitely playing this. It was nice to see Lex Luger show up as the narcissist.
Right.
But now I have January 24th written on the floor behind the cameraman. You were asking me what that is, and one of the coolest things about this game is you can actually figure out the date they made it. There was a 24-hour period that all these wrestlers were employed by the WWF. That's it. And that was obviously when they made this. Yeah. And it would have been the day of the 1993 Royal Rumble. That was the night Lex Luger debuted as the narcissist, and the following night on Monday Night Raw, Ric Flair lost a loser leaves town match to Mr. Perfect. There's literally a 24-hour period in history where this game could actually exist with this roster. I think that's cool. I don't know.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That's
that is the significance.
research.
Pen down to that if you can.
Yeah, that's what that is.
It's in like giant writing. I had
January
no idea.
24th.
I thought that was maybe the day you got the game and it like changed your life or something like that.
No, that was October 11th.
Oh, wow. All right.
It was a
pretty
life
memory
changer though.
All right.
The wrestlers themselves were fantastic. Like again, it's that sweet spot of wrestling where like the old people, the old guard was just starting to move into the new guard. So you have your Shawn Michaels, your Razor Ramon, your Bret Hart, but you still have your Macho Man and your Ric Flairs and your Mr. Perfect. So it really is the perfect time. With the next one that came out, I don't know, probably don't want to jump into it yet, but the Raw, like the follow-up to this, you're losing the Macho Man and you're losing Perfect and Flair, and you're getting like Luna Vachon and the 1-2-3 Kid, Doink the Clown. Super weak follow-up to this game.
That actually is like all the top players in this game. You actually get 12 wrestlers. I'll just read them off here because the similar ones for the SNES and the Sega Genesis are obviously Bret Hart, Crush, Razor Ramon, Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker, The Narcissist, and Randy Savage. And then where they differ is the SNES has Mr. Perfect, Ric Flair, Tatanka, Ted DiBiase, and Yokozuna. Whereas the Sega Genesis version has Hulk Hogan, IRS, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, the model Rick Martel, and Papa Shango. So who got the better end of the deal on that
Well,
one?
it's a good thing the Nintendo version didn't have Hacksaw Jim Duggan, because I would have worn out so many controllers playing his old Hacksaw. And for the kids out there, when he says SNES, he's not sneezing. That's the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, the SNES.
You really had to go there?
Just thought I'd clear that up. I'm sure there's a bunch of 10-year-olds that have no idea what you're talking about. They're like, man, I think I saw that in the Western Development Museum. Anyways, yeah, great collection of wrestlers in the Nintendo version, and as if you can outdo the finishing maneuvers, they have their own music, and that also blew our minds. There'd be time where we just leave it on in the background, listen to Bret Hart's 16-bit theme just loop. The Narcissist theme, Shawn Michaels theme, the Undertaker gong, awesome.
There's really nothing better than that.
No, there really isn't. It was good. The music holds up. The finishing maneuvers are like amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah, again, the grappling I still feel gets super old really quick. It's all the same until the finishing maneuvers, but.
I probably have to go back and play it. And this was actually the first game where their finishing maneuvers were actually part of the game. So it was kind of cool to incorporate that.
Oh, yeah.
What kind of game modes are there in the game? You know, can you play tag matches? Obviously, the Royal Rumble is in the game.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to think. But yeah, the Royal Rumble was the big one. But it was kind of funny because you can only have 6 in the ring at once.
Right.
Whereas, a real Royal Rumble just keeps filling up every 2 minutes. But this one, you didn't get a new contestant until you threw one out, just because the game would freeze. Back in the old Nintendo and Super Nintendo, if there's too much movement on the screen at once, it would freeze.
Understandable. That even happened on the N64 though as well.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, I mean, the game modes were super great, and let's just wrap this up here. Do you think this game is worth it for wrestling fans, especially, classic wrestling fans, if they see this game? Is it worth it to pick it up if they still have a SNES kicking around?
If you're gonna pick up one, this definitely should be it. I'd stay away from Raw. It's kind of a letdown. Like I said, you could either play as the Macho Man or Luna Vachon. Like, what? Give me a break. Yeah, I mean, even if you play it once, shuttle through all the finishing maneuvers and put it on your shelf, it'll probably make you smile.
WWF Royal Rumble on Super NES 16 McMahon!
This guy's rocking!
It's perfect. With more WWF superstars than ever before!
Unbelievable 6 men in the ring at once!
No holds barred, anything goes action!
It's a slugfest!
That's perfect.